Join us live on our social media platform. That's 5FM Radio Zambia. That's our Facebook page account. Please like it, follow, and as well as which we will definitely be coming to later in the course of the program. Also, don't forget, you, our listener, will be given an opportunity to call in and interact with our guest. And I'm your host, Zachariah Banda. Now, our guest today is not a stranger face or voice to you, our listener, but we have brought our guest so timely because we have a lot to talk about. Now, he is Mr. Nicholas Phiri. He is the Permanent Secretary, Technical Services at the Local Government and Rural Development Ministry. PS, it's always a pleasure to have you. Welcome to the Burning Issue.
Comrade Zach, it's always a pleasure to be here, and we say apologies for coming in late. However, we are delighted that we are here finally to interact with our citizens.
Right.
Very rare privilege, I must say, to first of all occupy this space and preside over the affairs of the people. So we are glad to be here.
Great. And yours, like we have always said, is a very busy department, and I know that the task that you have calls for a lot of time, a lot of movement. But I'm very interested, first of all, in finding out how CDF is being implemented so far countrywide. I think I must have caught you in the news where you actually rated Lusaka as 0 in terms of implementation.
I think just to indicate again that yes, the local government and rural development has become local government and rural development. The emphasis was deliberate to ensure we speak to the issues of rural development, because the urban areas in this country as a matter the country with a high Lusaka, like school, like and this country are so this is but the president has made it very clear, and we and administration are persuaded that that we can do the other the same some that initially made in the head at the inequality in accordance to their felt needs and their peculiar needs in those particular jurisdictions and locations. And so is the ministry that has been mandated to implement devolution by decentralization through devolution. And this is why up to this hour we're talking with Zach, we centralized 13 central government functions, not but we have discussed the money that are going to make operational and financed. And yes, the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, is just one that speak to the through devolution. The ZAC has allowed us to take decisions that we initially made to the and what is known as the WDC decision in that particular area, what their development priorities are, at this point, through the CDF, are made in the zones, in the wards, and of course, implemented through the local authority. And your question was, how do you rate the implementation of the CDF this far?
Right.
And I want to answer that question. So far, Zach, I must say that we as an administration are really happy with the implementation of the CDF. Why are we fairly happy? We are fairly happy because it is giving us early indicators of the positivity and the acceleration of development that can happen if we enhance it. What am I talking about? Zach, I'm talking about as we are today, here where we are seated, Zach, we have provided over 650,000 school desks countrywide through the CDF. What is the impact of that delivery of desks? Zach, we've been able to lift from the code floor over 1.2 million pupils from the floor to the desk through the Constituency Development Fund. We've been able, Zach, to provide water to more than 150,000 households through provision of boreholes, water schemes, ablution blocks, and reticulated water systems right in the villages, Zach, where people are drinking from wells. Go on and on and on. So we are fairly happy. We are not extremely impressed because, like every job, there are twists, turns, potholes, breakdowns, and things that needs to be patched. And the CDF is not any exceptional to that. We have several implementation challenges. One of it is the inadequate capacities within the local authorities to be able to execute the CDF projects in the speed that this government desires. For example, Zach, we did an analysis of the implementation of CDF projects the first quarter of this year. And we found that there are local authorities, and Lusaka is one of them, where the implementation, the execution of projects in terms of using the money to bring value in communities is below what would have ordinarily expected. And that is true with several other local authorities. So that then becomes one leg where government thinks that we still have a lot of work to do and to panel beat the process. We also have other areas, Zach, like, for example, the CDF loan. The CDF loan has not performed to its objectives of inception. What were the objectives? The objectives of the CDF loan, Zach, was to incentivize small and micro businesses that are found in areas where they cannot access capital from the capital markets that demand so much in order for you to get an incentive, namely a loan. They require you to have collateral, to have a title, to have a property, to have all these kind of things. And we know that majority of our people may not, even though they have the spirit to enterprise. So the conception of the CDF loan was that we give you the money, Zach, using social capital, goodwill that you are going to pay back. And then you can run with your business and pay back. When you pay back, then you can give him Kandawaya, then we can give you Walia, and so on and so forth. It becomes a revolving facility. That was the original conception. But maybe our conception and the instruments we put to operationalize it did not go in tandem. And what you have seen is that as we're speaking now, the rate of default for the CDF loan is over 90%, and that is unacceptable. So those are some of the areas that we, as a government, are trying to address in terms of how we make the CDF more effective. But on a balance of probability, I think the CDF has delivered to a larger extent what we intend it to deliver, even though there's room to improve on its delivery and mandate.
Let's break it down, especially with the fact that you've discovered glitches with the local authorities in terms of implementing CDF projects, for example. What are the common reasons coming up hindering this progress?
There are several reasons, Zach. And thank you very much for that question, because because now it gives us an opportunity to break them down.
Right.
So talk about the first challenge being lack of capacity, but let's put it in context.
Right.
For many years, local authorities or councils, as we call them,
yeah,
in the right context of local governance, where they of a district in terms of delivering development. And this is the reason why you saw that it was almost a common feature that local authority workers went for the longest of period of time without getting salaries. In this country, when working for a council, kusenza ku council yai ningasenzeni ku council, I can't work for the council. So we created that. There was a time in this country where that word council ku council, the first image it invoked in you was an image of incompetence, an image of corruption, an image of carelessness, just some lot of disorganization. It was like a headquarters of disorganization. To a point where even to apply for land, nikashta apply, to take 10 years for them to respond. So the point is, there was a time when this institution was not properly looked after. What it resulted into, there was a loss of human resource engineers. The council had no engineers, be they mechanical engineers, structural engineers, civil engineers, call them. The council had no architects. The architects, Zach, are people that can create a building from imagination, bring it on paper, so that you as a bricklayer, when you go to build, or as an engineer, you follow what the architect designed. We didn't have them in the councils. We didn't have socio-economic planners. We didn't have surveyors, quantity surveyors, QSs, people that can work out a bill of quantity. An architect has given you an impression of the building. This is the plan. But how much material do I need? And what quality of material do I need to do this? The councils need to have that human resource they didn't have. And then what happened in 2021 when UPND formed government? Because we were in a hurry to introduce, to deliver development, we increased the CDF and deposited into the councils to run. What that did, it gave the system shock, what we call a system shock. You unakavumoka tonto, and then we give you so much food than your stomach can chew or contain.
Right.
So we had to deal with that issue. That was the first challenge. The second challenge, Zach, is that the way we have developed the CDF is that the people that are supposed to participate in the CDF contracts are what we call local contractors. What do I mean by local? We mean that when the council is procuring CDF projects in Kanchibia, the contractors whose business is domiciled in Kanchibia, who pay council levy, business levy to Kanchibia Town Council, are the ones that should be eligible to participate in that contract. Now, again, there we have the challenge. The challenge, for more than 20 years, the contracts also were centralized. You, Zach, we are living here, Machwakusaka Kuno. You go to Kanchibia to get a contract and build in Kanchibia. Set up a camp there. When you finish, you abandon the camp, you come back to Lusaka. What that did was that it deprived us for a business in Kanchibia to be set up and have its capacity developed to deliver projects on time with quality within a reasonable budget. So when we said CDF procurements are going to be localized to local. We then had this challenge of finding locals that had the capacity to deliver a project in line with government standards. So that is another challenge we have to address. Then there's this animal, Zach, called the EGP, Electronic Government Procurement System, where in order to address corruption in procurement, we tried to cut the connection of physical human beings to physical human beings by way of introducing an electronic platform which then interfaces with you as a contractor and then interfaces with the procurement entity, which is in this case the council. Now, to operate the EGP, you need your local fast belt to understand how the EGP works and also be able to upload their documents, their tender documents on that platform. All these things we have to deal with them. And then, of course, you also have the issue of local participation. To what extent are citizens in wards, in zones, participating in identifying project priorities? Because for the long period of time, the PS and the minister in Lusaka decided what school to build where and what. All of a sudden you tell people that you have the power. They are not going to assimilate it automatically. You have to work with them for them to understand what it means when you say power to the people through devolution. So all these things, Zach, put together, even us at the ministry, we are also just learning how to implement a CDF. Remember, the CDF was 1.6 million. Now 1.6 million, you kuti muione Zach, kuti ifume ndala mailute kuma constituencies. Some constituencies go for 3 years without receiving the CDF. So the ministry also had to learn how to deal with all the, now I'm sitting on over 4.5 billion kwacha for the CDF. So the ministry also had to learn how do we do this. Then there are also other government departments. Right now, Zach, my ministry buys equipment in health. I'm sure you saw that CDF X-ray machine that made noise, a little bit of noise, that they bought a machine in Wing which did not function and there was a lot of pressure on us. But the point I'm trying to make, Zach, is that the CDF is, my ministry is operating in health. We are doing maternity annexes, we are doing ambulances, we are doing, health equipment. We are in water. We are doing rural water, sanitation. We are in education. We are providing schools and desks. We are in agriculture. We are providing agricultural equipment. So we also needed to build capacities of government departments to appreciate the concept of decentralization and being able to get all these departments, health, education, community development, bring them to the table around the council and develop and implement a local agenda. So all these, Zach, contribute to the ultimate efficiency or lack of efficiency of the CDF. So these are some of the challenges that have been undermining the implementation of the CDF, but we are aggressively addressing them. And this is why this year we have set a target for ourselves that we should hit 85% implementation efficiency, meaning that of all the funds that are going to be released towards CDF, 85% of it should be spent in 2025 fiscal year as a way of ensuring that we are delivering value and development to the people. So those are some of the challenges in a nutshell, Zach.
So then it's not false information when we hear that CDF money is being released in piecemeal. Is that so? To constituencies?
Well, I don't know what you understand by piecemeal. I honestly don't know, so I may not answer your question.
So there'll be an MP probably who will tell me to say, I haven't actually received not all of it in terms of CDF from 2023, for example, 2024. They will make those claims when we host them.
Okay,
here.
So here's the issue.
Right.
Here's the issue. When the CDF was increased from 1.6 to 25.56 million thereabout, they first the money to the local authorities.
Okay.
By the end of the first year, only about 42% of that money was utilized. And the song that was there all over was their rigidities. You remember that word, rigidities?
Yes.
CDF rigidities.
Yes.
What was the rigidity? The number one rigidity? There's so much money sitting in the council's accounts and nothing is happening. And it was true. Now remember, so much money is sitting in council's account, but there are many other areas of development that requires calling for the same money that is sitting in the council.
Right.
And then you went to ask for a bank facility, you went and borrowed the same money which is sitting in the bank. So what did we do? The second year, we restructured the funding mechanism. And what did we say? We said funding of the CDF is going to be on the basis your needs and requirements as a council.
Proposed projects.
Yes. So what you do, you know that in the next 3 months from our procurement plan, 10 million. Mostly that's how much the councils get. That's how much from their funding profiles is 10, 14 million thereabout.
Right.
So in the next 3 months, we need this kind of money. These projects will be ready for payment. So you send a funding profile to the ministry. And the ministry is going to release the money to you in accordance with the funding profile that you have indicated. So that we avoid you at any point sitting on money you are not using. Because money is always a scarce resource.
Right.
So how you deploy it is extremely important. And so that is how the system was changed. What most authorities are grappling with now, local authorities, is to be able to do the profiling that in the next 6 months, how much money will I need? This is what my ministry is working together with the office of the Secretary to the Treasury to help and build capacity in the local authorities for profiling of these projects. What is happening now is that, like today, some council just now, and this is the reason why I delayed to come to the to this hotel,
right.
to this program.
Yeah.
Somebody just brought a funding request. PS when a crisis in China, we need this money, like 10 million now. The contractor finished work long time ago, and I'm thinking, and was that a miracle? Did you just wake up and find the project was finished? You knew, because every contract tells you when the project is going to phase out.
Right.
So you need to profile and focus and project how much you need. Then you submit your request 3 months in advance. Then you submit means of finance, and then the money is raised in that way. Some of the local authorities have been able to do that, and we are good. But again, some of them, we have to build capacity. Building of capacity, Zach, is a process. And we must trust the process. We trust the process at the ministry. Why do we trust the process? Because where we are sitting now, in terms of the burn rate or the use of this money, the CDF money, when you look at the baseline of 42%, now we are sitting close to 70%. I think we are making progress. But remember that people are in a hurry. So they are not interested in your processes of capacity building. They want development now and yesterday. So when you hear that money is being released in piecemeal, I don't know what that piecemeal means, but what it is now is that when you give us your funding profile, then we are able to give you your money to suit your funding profile, as opposed to giving all of you 10 million across the board. And then at the end of the year, we find that 10 million is sitting. This is where sometimes we even hear stories of, abuse, this man was abused, because every money should be tied to a project.
So in as far as financing or the releasing of the money is concerned, this is a reversed decentralization in as far as things are. Because, you gave them monies, but now you decided, no, we're going to have it back. And so we haven't decentralized in as far as financing is concerned.
Yes, because even when we talk about decentralization,
right.
Zach, decentralization doesn't mean irresponsibility. Decentralization means finding the most effective way to deliver development. Now, if in the spirit of decentralization, we send you money, sits in your account, at the end of the year, you just use 42%. 58% unutilized, and then we say in the name of decentralization we'll leave that one there. I think we'll be irresponsible, because remember, this same money is not on source revenue which the councils generate. This is money coming from the center, so the center still has control on how the prudent use of national resources. That function will not be decentralized. That's why you have the Minister of Finance, who is responsible for fiscal policy to guide how the fiscal should be managed.
Let's also get down and see how the cash for work program progressed. And I think that it's important that we take a review of it, because I think when we last hosted you, it was more in the introductory stage. But how has it impacted the lives of the people, and just give us an idea as to why, for the sake of those that may not understand the conception of the cash for work.
Fantastic program, Zach, fantastic program. And I want to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank His Excellency the President, because remember, when we started the cash for work, it was initially supposed to go for 6 months, and then it was extended for another 6 months. It was supposed to end in June. And now the president has guided that the cash for work is here to stay. So I wish to take this opportunity to thank His Excellency the President for that vision, for that leadership, for that resolve. Because we as a country are constrained in terms of fiscus, but still within our limited capacity to generate resource, the president has found it in his wisdom appropriate that we extend this facility so that it addresses the critical issues. Now, coming back to the question, the original conception of the cash for work was to build household income and food security in the face of the challenging situation that we faced in the 2024-2025 farming season, where more than 84 districts experienced total crop failure, resulting into serious food and income shortage in those particular jurisdictions. And so the idea then was that how do we help the people to build their economic resilience, household income, and also food assets without having them to succumb to the pressure of hunger, starvation, and so on and so forth. And this is how the cash for work was put in place to complement and supplement other government programs that were existing, namely social cash transfer, the emergency cash response, food for work, and several other programs that were meant as social protection programs. The difference was that the cash for work was specifically targeting people that had the fiscal ability to exchange labor for money, and their only challenge was that either they faced failure of their crop or fall of the business because of the hunger and drought situation. And so the cash for work came in to exchange labor for money, and then we said, when you work for 10 days, you are going to be given 600 kwacha, which you can then use to incentivize your household. And so when we began the program, one of the challenges we faced, which we came and discussed here on this radio,
That's right,
was the delayments in paying of beneficiaries. At that point, we had promised that we were in consultation with the mobile service providers and the banks to find the most appropriate tool to reach out to areas where there's no network, because we are paying essentially through mobile money.
Right.
So we said to reach out to areas where there's no mobile money. We also reach out to those areas where people had no SIM cards and so on and so forth. Zach, I'm glad to report that issue was resolved, and we did engage the banks and in some cases mobile service providers to do three things. Number one, they were able to help us to provide free SIM cards to the beneficiaries of Cash for Work, and also clean up the database. The confusion of you are Zach, I'm Nicholas, but we share the same surname, Zach Bwalia, Nicholas Bwalia, and then you register a SIM card in my name, but your NRC is Zach Bwalia. So to cure that problem, the mobile service providers provided us with free SIM cards and to clean up the database for the names of the people, and that we did. Secondly, they were able to facilitate for the opening of accounts, mobile accounts for local authorities, so that when it was time to pay, it was just a click of a button and the messages go to the respective beneficiaries and they receive their money. The third thing they did was to provide a service called cash in transit. This service, Zach, allowed us to move the physical cash to areas which are completely cut off from mobile connectivity. We were able to move the cash in transit and pay the beneficiaries their money after they had done their work. So all in all, Zach, we are extremely happy with this program, because other than just receiving, incentivizing the beneficiaries, Zach, there are areas in this country which have benefited tremendously by way of road infrastructure, by way of school infrastructure, and several other community assets that have come up as a result of the Cash for Work. And so we think that on a balance of probability, the Cash for Work has delivered. However, in terms of the actual empirical numbers, I will come back, Zach, and share with you after June, because June is the last month of implementing the phase 2 of the Cash for Work. Remember, the phase 1 expired, right. Then we extended now to June. After June, we will go into review, serious review. In fact, my teams are already on the ground to seriously review how this program is going, so that every program, Zach, has strengths and weaknesses. Right. In this particular one, we have found some of the weaknesses. 2 I can quickly mention is, number 1 is the level of supervision. How much supervision are we providing for the works that are being done? Number 2 is, especially in urban areas, the quality of works. In rural areas, I have no problems. The Cash for Work has really, in Lundazi, for example, there's a road, sorry, not a tarmac, a gravel road, which was opened, completely virgin road, Zach, 15 kilometers, which was done under Cash for Work, where students, there was no Olongolo, an ox cart would not pass there. But they have opened a bush, cleared that road, 15 kilometers of it, under Cash for Work. That is really a good thing. But when we come to urban areas, it has been extremely challenging to quantify and certify the quality of works that are being done. Sometimes I'm coming from home, I find on the same spot, 7 days, people are sweeping on the same spot at Cash for Work. That is not the idea. So that is one area when we go into phase 3, which we must look at critically to ensure that after the Cash for Work project comes to an end, it should leave a trail of results that are contributing to the sustainability of infrastructure, to the sustainability of the environment, and especially for Lusaka, the cleanness of this city, Lusaka. Talking about the cleanness, Zach, I'm also happy to report that we now have bought 10 tractors, specifically designated, one per constituency, dedicated to the Cash for Work program, so that we avoid this thing of the Cash for Work people bring out the debris on the islands, and then we don't have the facilities to collect the debris. It ends up going back in the same drainages, and then tomorrow they come sweep it again. That is not getting value for money. So we have bought tractors. We are going to buy also about 20 or 30 skip bins and put them in strategic areas to ensure that every debris that we collect from Cash for Work is deposited in those skip bins, and then we get the tractors to carry the debris and take it to the Chunga dump site, which is really our official landfill. So I think in a nutshell, Zach, I'm happy to report that as of today, we have reached to more than 3 million actually beneficiaries under the Cash for Work, and we have disbursed close to 1.1 billion kwacha in beneficiaries payments.
Who's responsible for the supervision? Having noticed that, or indeed even the entire Cash for Work, is this under the council? Is this directly being supervised by the ministry? Who is in charge of the Cash for Work?
So the council is an extension of the ministry. Just to put that in context. So the Cash for Work, the ministry responsible for implementing the Cash for Work is the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, which ministry I'm privileged to be PS in, and the Cash for Work program falls directly under my supervision. At the council, we have the local authority, of course, being the implementing agency, and then you have the Office of the District Commissioner, the Office of the Mayor, getting involved in terms of providing the monitoring. And then you have the WDCs, the Ward Development Committees, who are really supposed to supervise the implementation of the works in the field. So this is the current structure as it stands, but we are not averse to recommendations and suggestions on how best that it delivers efficiency and effectiveness to our people.
How effective has it been when it comes to hygiene and general, sanitation? Would you allude to the fact that we have not recorded a number of cases in as far as cholera is concerned to Cash for Work?
Zach, thank you very much for that question. So the cholera issue in this country is like an elephant. It's like an elephant, Zach. An elephant is a huge animal. And so if you just touch the tail of the elephant, you say, oh, elephant is like a snake or like a hose pipe because you have just touched the tail. If somebody touched the trunk, they say, oh, elephant is Mongansengo. So each person, but it's all those small things, the trunk, the tail, the eyes, the ears, the tummy, the back, the legs, put together that make the elephant a whole animal. So Cash for Work is a piece of the jigsaw puzzle. You also have another piece, which is the stormwater drainage. You also have another piece, which is the water and sanitation. You also have another piece, which is citizens' attitudes and behaviors. You also have another piece, which is the collection efficiency of solid waste by the relevant authorities. And so what you see this year, Zach, is the beginning of the small gains and wins of the collective and collaborative efforts of government agencies to address the issues of cholera, which had become almost like, an annual thing. If you look at the works that we are doing in Kanyama, for example, which is one of the breeding centers for cholera in this country, we are doing there a drainage called the Diana. We are doing there a drainage called the 7070. We are doing there a drainage called Kalushabwalia. We are doing water and sanitation programs in there through the Urban Renewal Project. So then we have the Cash for Work, which is coming in to supplement these efforts. And then we have established the Lusaka Solid Waste Integrated Management Company, which now is even the one responsible for solid waste collection in this country. We also, in partnership with JICA, have upgraded the Chunga. You may not know, citizens may not know and appreciate what was happening at Chunga. What was happening at that dump site, Zach, is that the the driveways tunjira to mamoto koendo ta vinyalala yakaenda kuja makuti ipite ndi ta vinyalala, all those ways had been clogged, blocked. So when a vehicle picked debris in Intercity and went there, sometimes they would be parked outside for 3 days waiting for Chimazembe to push a little bit of space so they can have access there and dump. This is what was happening there. Kajaka Road, for those people that know that road that cuts from Great North Road, goes through Chunga, goes through Chunga dump site, kando Chunga kuchunga kuja Nelson Mandela School there. Yeah. That road had been clogged, blocked completely because of the debris that was overflowing from there. So we went into partnership with JICA, and thank you very much to the Japanese government. And we were able to make the roads inside there. They gave us equipment. JICA gave us equipment. We also supplemented by buying pieces of equipment to clear that area. It was a 3 years project. We have now cleared it. You may have seen the vice president and the minister, the former minister Gary, that last time we went to Chunga to just appreciate what was there. And you've seen now how that thing is coming up. So right now, there's no vehicle that will stop outside and wait for the dumping, because we have done that facility very well. And by the way, good news, Zach. The ministry has invited international technology to go and invest in Chunga dump site to make value out of it. Generate electricity, recyclable materials, fertilizer, and anything else that technology can afford to make good of that facility. That tender, the invitation for proposals, the invitation for expression of interest rather, was closed 2 weeks ago. We are now going into evaluation. After evaluation, we will then select the prospectives. We'll ask them to develop a detailed technical proposal. And by next year, Zach, we should have a completely different story about the Chunga dump site, because from that Chunga, where people are dumping what is known as rubbish, we are going to get value for the country in terms of generating products that add value. But more importantly, it is going to change the whole complexion and mechanism of solid waste management in this country, because you are going to have a direct correlation between money and what you call solid. And we hope our communities are going to appreciate that and be able to channel that solid now to the right places for onward value processing. So all these efforts, the Chunga renovation, the integration, the Lusaka Integrated Management Company, which we have established, the drainages we are doing, the cash for work, the sensitization, the implementation of the Keep Zambia Clean, Green and Health Master Plan, which Cabinet approved. We are beginning to see the small gains. But I must say, Zach, the battle has not yet been won. The battle for solid waste management, sustainable solid waste management, is far from being won. Lusaka is a debt city. We are sitting in debt. And we must work together as citizens, political parties, the church, civil society, media, community groupings. Let us work together to keep Lusaka clean, green alone, not the Ministry of Law Government alone. It is a concerted effort approach. You, our city, bring the litter on the streets. The companies that manufacture water, beer, beverages, all these things you can in plastics, you are also part of. You generate those things. You are called waste. The technical word is waste generators. They are called waste generators. You have a responsibility to come to the party. In fact, we as a ministry have been directed to work with green economy, to work with the office of the vice president, to find a mechanism, sustainable mechanism of addressing the production and disposal of plastic waste. Zach, you may have seen what happened to the Ngwelele stream just 3 months ago. all the plastics that we generate in Lusaka and dump, now we are finding themselves into that stream. And that's how that bridge going into Great North Road got clogged. There's nothing there, Zach, but plastics. That is what can happen if we do not address these issues, to look at how we can address the issue of plastic. On plastic, because plastic is non-biodegradable, most of it, which means that once it finds itself in the soil, it will be there for 100 years and we are destroying the environment. So I wish to take this opportunity to appeal to all the stakeholders to please come on board. Some of you are coming on board with ideas. Some of you are coming on board with financial capacity. Let us invest in collection facilities. Help us to invest in mindset change. Mindset change, Zach, is the biggest issue. You, Zach, how can you be driving a BMW? Waikili na motoka muja wakili na cockpit spray wa spraying your car is smelling nice. Ukujia banana na manzi, ulibena and so on, you open the window and throw it outside. It's a mindset issue. How do you feel? You don't feel anything surely to plastic, you even close the window, you go. You don't feel anything. Then there's a problem. But this is true for most of us as a country. So it is something that we must all work together, walk together. We can make Lusaka, we can change Lusaka only if we can work together. And the ministry is ready and will provide the leadership it requires to get a Lusaka that is clean, green, and healthy.
This is the Tuesday edition of The Burning Issue here on the Happy World of 5 FM radio and also live on our partner radio stations, Tuta FM in Mansa. Also, we are live on ZFM in Phiri, live on Spice FM in Kabwe, as well as Platinum Radio in Ndola. And our guest this morning on the Tuesday edition of The Burning Issue is Mr. Phiri. He is the Permanent Secretary, Technical Services at the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. I will be opening the phone lines pretty soon. Let me just one issue and ask you a question around this. And this is, I know that government is making every effort to ensure that all those traders who were trading from the streets, that were removed from the streets, the government has been making efforts to creating environments, conducive environments for traders to operate. Them is the recently opened controversial Simon Mwewa market.
Why do you call it controversial?
Controversial in the sense that there's a lot of different stories coming out of it, especially in terms of occupation. First, it was just yesterday, I think we noticed that councils are still, and council police are still operating around Simon Mwewa because there is a resistance by some traders to leave the street to occupy the market. And those that have occupied the market are still, in terms of others are getting the markets and reselling the spaces. How is it going? What was the plan and how has it been in terms of shop allocations as well?
Okay. So first of all, let me make this very clear. There's absolutely no controversy around Simon Mwewa Lane market. So let's not call it controversial because in this country we have a way of coining things, and then before you know it, people even lose what the real issue is. For example, I know, Zach, of our topic today, right, that people have decided to call certain constitutional clauses as contentious and non-contentious. So ask them, who decided it's contentious? And contentious from whose perspective? But I mean, these are some of the things that we say, it maybe as a fancy word, as a buzzy word, but it has a connotation on how you understand the context. So there's absolutely no controversy around Simon Mwewa Lane market. Let's start it from there.
Okay.
The Simon Mwewa Lane market is part of the broader government policy to provide for decent trading spaces for our citizens. And also, by extension, decongesting and eradicating. You cannot discuss the outbreak of cholera or lack of outbreak of cholera without discussing how trade is conducted and where it is conducted from, because trade has to be regulated. Mugulisa michopo in an area where there is no sanitation, or right next to us running, like we saw in one of the markets that we demolished, where the people decide to go and which had fecal discharge, industrial discharge, and they are cooking shima on top of there. And then you want to talk about no cholera? No. So these are integrated pieces. So there's no controversy around that market. It is part of the broader government strategy and policy to provide for decent trading spaces. That market we have done now is one. There's another one right to that Simon Lane market, which again we are going to do and complete to provide for our people. There's another PPP market that is coming out, the Kadura market, or the one, what is it called? It's called the Munyaule market.
Right.
It's coming on stream. It will take more than 1,000 people. So this is part of the broader strategy. Remember, we are the city at city market there. After the market got gutted, we came in, we renovated, and we opened it up. So this is what your government is going to be doing. Now, the allocation of spaces in that particular market, Samuel Lane market, was done with a very clear criteria. The first criteria was that there are people that we had moved from the streets, Lumumba Road, Nyaule there, and they came and occupied the frontage of that same market. So we took an inventory of those, and I think there are about 130, if my brain is functioning properly this morning. 130 to 136 of them. And then we also had people that had been displaced from other trading spaces. And then, of course, now any other that was eligible. So that was our criteria. Now, you must understand also human behavior. When now the market was ready for occupants, then the number of people from 130 started swelling. Each one now claiming, I was also trading from here, I was trading from there. And this is where the confusion came. So it's not controversy, it's actually confusion.
Right.
And this is where now you found people, oh no, me I was left out, oh no, me I was here and there. No. But notwithstanding, it does not justify anyone, first of all, to go and occupy an area that we are trying to decongest, because that's Samuel Lane market. If you are going to leave people to trade there, you have opened the market. What is going to happen next? That people are going to leave the stands from the markets. They are going to come on that street, because the notion, the belief is that there's more business on the street than it is in the market. So we, working together with the council, are going to continue policing that street and making sure that every person that is eligible to move into the market moves into the market. However, you must understand that when all the spaces are occupied there, we are only talking about 960 people, slightly shy of 1,000. We have more traders than that on the street, and many more are still coming on the street. So the demand for expanding these trading spaces will always be there. And some of the people now that are saying we are left out may be those that are just coming and because they have seen an opportunity. And this is why we say always to the citizens, when we make an announcement that there's this facility, please come and occupy, be the first one to be there. Comrade, I first-hand experienced this situation when we were decongesting the Kalunga steel market. In the Kalunga steel market there, we had about 160 makeshift stores. And we told people, we have found spaces for you which are better. Come and occupy the spaces. There was a huge resistance for people to move. A few moved, others completely refused and remained there. And when it was time, all the notices had been served, more than 5 of them, and now it was time to move. All we did one night was do an enforcement order, and then the Mazembe went there and they ignored everything. Then the next people were crying, I've been trading here for 10 years. So we have to address the issue. We provide infrastructure. The council should do a clean job in terms of occupants of the markets. The citizens must also respond and support their government by way of accept that we require. And maybe let me take this opportunity also to say this, that we would be very happy and willing as a ministry that if people came and said, find us a trading place, we'll be very happy to support such a group. Kilowatt, KV, power line, even a transformer, surrounding a transformer, which transformer Chingapoleke anytime, they are trading there. And then when you go to move them, they say, but we've been here for 10 years. Let's desist from that. Let me also take this opportunity to say that there's a procedure, citizens, for getting plots, whether it's a trading plot, whether it's a plot for building your residence. Please, I beg you, don't give money to a PS at local government and say, Napa Sanjana Kula PS. Don't give money to the Minister of Local Government and say, I gave the money to the minister. Don't give your money to your councillor and say, I gave the councillor. Councillors are not there to sell plots. Please familiarize yourself with the Local Government Act to tell you the functions of a councillor as a civic leader. Don't go to a chairman of some political party, because when you do that, I can promise you, you are going to lose. And as long as the President of the Republic of Zambia remains in there and we remain to implement his vision and policy, I can promise you, you are going to lose. It's just a matter of time. This morning, Zach, part of the reason why I delayed was because I was besieged at the office. There's a space within the CBD where traders for 14 years, they have been around the Zesco transformer and they've been resisting to move. And today they brought papers that are implicating some of us as having received the money to sell the plots. So you'll be arrested. Straight, you'll be arrested. And the trader is going to be either an accomplice or a complainant, but they're going to lose. So I want to plead and beg with the citizens that in the fight against corruption, you also become part of the value chain. Because if you are paying under the tree, then you are not helping your government fight corruption. I just thought, Zach, that I should make that very clear so that we can move together as citizens. The council, United Planning Authority, that can receive money on behalf of government to allocate a plot or a temporal or permanent trading space.
Thank you very much for that, PS. Well, listeners, we are now taking your phone calls on 0955-221515. That's the number that you can get us on. And remember, our guest is the Permanent Secretary for Technical Services at the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, Mr. Nicholas Phiri. Let's take some calls now. Let's take this one. Good morning.
Good morning, Razati. Good morning, our guest.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Your name and where you're calling us from?
So this is Moses. I'm calling you from within Lusaka. Thank you for the information you are giving us.
Yeah.
I mean that are they able to live beyond after maybe 5 years or 10 years? Are we going to continue to the cash for work? Number two, are you fully I say so because there are two basic questions that we can see that cadres are correct. Like when you go out there, cadres are busy getting money. So where is that money going? Is it going to the council? In conclusion, why are you even failing to paint the zebra crossing? What is your work as a council? We are listening. God bless you.
Thank you very much for that, Moses. We'll take another one on 0955-221515 if you'd like to come through and be part of our conversation. Our guest He is the Permanent Secretary for Technical Services at the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, Mr. Nicholas Phiri. Maybe let's get into it because he's, I think, given you about 3 questions.
Yeah. Okay, so the first question, thank you very much, Moses. The first question was how sustainable is the program? And specifically, you talked about political sustainability. Unfortunately, Moses, I can't speak to political sustainability in an event that the UPND is not there, as you have asked, because every political outfit comes with its own policies, with its own priorities. So I may not predict what could happen, a few years from now in an event that government changes hands. However, what I can predict and tell you with confidence and scientific evidence is that the cash flow socially, by socially I mean it is going to lift people's standards of living from where it is now to a certain level, and more importantly, going to break the syndrome of Tantameni, because here you have to work in order to earn. And I think this is a mentality that the president is trying to inculcate, and I think economically, it's also going to to be sustainable. As I've told you, Moses, there are areas in this country, in Chipata, for example, there's a drainage. It's a main drainage in Chipata, which had been clogged for over 17 years. This drainage has been now completely weeded, desilted, and is functioning very well. So we can only attribute that to the cash for work. So that is something that is going to be here for the next 5-10 years. So in that regard, you can say it was sustainable. Moses, you asked about, are we fully in charge of the markets and bus stations? Yes, Moses, we want to be fully in charge. Old habits die hard. I would be burying my head in sand if I say we have completely cleaned the bus stations and markets. What I can fully say is that we have an equivocal and express matching orders by His Excellency the President that there should be no cadarism in markets and bus stations, whether that cadarism is clad in red, blue, green, white, pink, or orange. So that policy clarity is there. The implementation remains with us, and I take this opportunity again to encourage citizens that where you find these things happening, please reach out to the ministry, reach out to the councils, and we will be more than glad to take up that challenge. I will tell you, Moses, there's a market in this country, I will not mention, where we had directed that we should deploy the digital collection, revenue collection system. And there was resistance coming from different stakeholders because they were benefiting from that. When the issue was brought to the attention of the ministry, we acted on that report decisively, and I'm glad to report that in that particular market now, we have deployed the digital system. The San Moalen market, we have directed as a ministry that there will be no collection of cash using hands. And I will be going there to inspect the market tomorrow or the other day, just to make sure that there's adherence to that. So the same way, wherever you find there are pockets of unlawful activities going on, please bring it to our attention, and we'll be more than happy to move in and bring sanity. I said, no cadarism in markets and bus stations. Your last question, Moses, was, I think to me, you were telling me that PS, you are not doing your work good enough because we still have areas that are poorly marked. We still have areas that are having, no road furniture and infrastructure. And I'm sure you are talking about township roads, because those are the roads that are under my jurisdiction. So I take that as a challenge. I take that as a wake-up call for the ministry. Moses, I want to with my councils that we get on the ground and do what we ought to do, because that is our mandate to do exactly what we have said. I hope that I've answered your questions.
Great. Let's take another one on 0955221515. Good morning. Tauka mwaka bwanji mwe.
Nauka mwauka.
Bamudenda ye.
Ine funzo yanga ni hai Bendera Road kapena muliko na mandate nayo Bendera Road. Mwita ni grapo tani kapena mumapita kwa kwao mumapita. Hoji imanje ya tukamapoti hoji imanje ankala mikoti. Sasa ina traffic ya papa Bendera hapa. Sisi la tukoja ni koja nini ya kumbika hapa. Mtao mkoti bakanzo. Mtao. Anga timuchi sunga kwa mtao ni mukamba ni ino wene watu kuwanda watu mu makombo ni mandu waisokera kumbatsu mtabwani orogoe katema ndako chenzo ni makulako churu chisipa chato mwanga
nipa ati papanganani
waisi ya ofisi ya wabosa
ofisi yao siri kupangania
ofisi ya kudati kwa masundako moto kanati safu traffic tukemi ya mvula kama tudapa chungi na moto kakati waisi ya kuja kupanganani
Okay, he doesn't know the place, but
kwanga kamba he doesn't know kuja kuteze kama motoka ya kanso kukapanga nani kaja pamene wapanga maskrini mataini pele wapunta maskrini kaja kulipa motoka ya ngena so ni office ya kanso napati na parodi pa gate side wamenana bonipisha kuti msoke pa gate ngena kanso.
Okay, so Banda abasema nachoke ku Lusaka City Council abachoka ku local government, Ministry of Local Government. Much as City Council is under local government, he stands not to really know where the council parks their vehicle. But ngatiuze exactly what the problem is pamene pajapane mukamba papanganani.
Mapoti hoji jangatini kuja kwetu mamoto kenzana reka kuenda kukuchani kuangalita ndize nangu wameni wasenezera kupanganani napita kwa tabi.
Okay.
So please wayangani mapoti hoji. Then many issue maningi yanga inipeni bera kundi ya nima yukimta maningi hapa. Nimi goji manja hapa. Mashoko yasi mashoko.
I agree with you. I've used Bembela. It's a sorry sight. Thank you very much, Banda, for coming, and we appreciate that. Now, let me quickly give you something from Facebook as you respond. Evans Meleki says, in urban areas, there is a lot of suspected criminality and the way cash for work is handled. We have people who have not been paid since last year. The blame keeps shifting from WCs, WDCs to council and vice versa. This is from Justin Kabwad. All right. Also, William Mungenda from Choma says people are saying cash for work is a political tool for the party in government to mobilize its political voting using government funds. Is this true or false? Let's maybe take one more call. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
How are you today?
Very fine, sir.
Your name and where you from?
This is Munga, calling from within Lusaka.
Wisdom from within Lusaka. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Phiri, PS, for the information. But myself, my concern, ni yakuti mwenye makambako papati ya mpinga muntu ali motoka hata ya sinyala mizoni. So my suggestion is that nichabwino ngati kungangaleko lo kangati lo iliko iya kwebati umuntu ngamote chintu immediately either the council police or other authority bamugwira nokumuchitape security because tijachonse tirelengo kwebati otherwise difficult kupikirisha muno mu Lusaka mwe especially in Lusaka. Yes, we should maintain this state clean, but otherwise my suggestion personally yakwebati bafunka pangalelo yakwebati umuntu ngachataya bamugwira bamwikatero nga bamwikata afuniko making sure at least alipire ngatakangiwa lipira afuniko making sure to at least aendako nanga ku prison or somewhere else. So ndo sinzi ngachiriko. Number 2, last ni introduction ya plastic. Plastic mwanzo makambapo kuchama cha last for long time. Ichabwino why the government maybe in that the ban to use this plastic. Then nomesa kuma bag ya paper bag. Yali kwela at least ye benanga ataya muntu yamankala kutija kwa tishanga nkale for long time tijatuma first maona nomanga using plastics aya muntu azataya tizankala tizangudeti so suggestion yanga nyakuti ngati government nganganepo mu PS kwankala kutako banya plastics okuyalesa kutosa kisebenzesa mu kyalo muziko latu lino plastics then kisebenzesa ko paper bag yali akola at least they are able ukutinga kyataya muntu fast yanga gole fast than plastic because here they matter time.
Thank you. Wisdom. I've got an interesting text from Mansa, from our partner radio station, Tuta FM, says, good morning, PSP. Recently, Mansa Municipal Council made poor showing before the Public Accounts Committee regarding the implementation ratings of CDF projects. Is your office on top of this matter to ensure that the people of Mansa Central and Bahati constituency benefit from CDF the same way other residents are benefiting according to the government, according to reports from the government? If you are on top of this, of this issue at Mansa Municipal Council, what is your analysis of the problem of CDF projects at the council? So, yeah, maybe I give you room to react.
Okay, so thank you very much for those questions. I didn't get the name of the last person, the one that...
Wisdom.
Wisdom.
Yes. The message.
No, Wisdom was talking about the suggestion, but the message on...
the one I've just read? Okay, so this one is coming from Tuta FM. It's our partner radio station.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me start with Wisdom. Wisdom, to thank you most sincerely, because Wisdom is saying that is making two suggestions. The first suggestion is that we need to have a law that deals with indiscriminate disposal of waste and make it punishable. And secondly, he's saying that government should banning of using plastics as a packaging material. So Wisdom, I want to thank you most sincerely, and as a way of responding, I want to indicate that actually we do have a law that deals with indiscriminate disposal of waste. I think what has been weak and what we must work on is the enforcement of that law. And it's not just indiscriminate disposal from the windows of the car, but it is areas. Sometimes people wake up in the night because they don't want to pay for a collection of those services.
Right.
So we must deal with that issue decisively. And I may not delve into the detail, but just to assure you that we are looking at that aggressively. The banning of plastics, again, I did mention Wisdom when I started this program, that we have set up a team ourselves as local government team, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Green Economy, and Ministry of, and the Office of the Vice President, to look at the different alternatives and models of dealing with plastics that are really, really clogging our streets, waterways, and contributing significantly to pollution. You will be updated, we'll keep you informed, but this is a decision that already, in terms of finding a solution dealing with plastics, it's already on the table and government is looking at it. And very soon the nation will be updated on what steps we are going to take. So we come to Comrade in Mansa, who is talking about asking whether we are on top of CDF, implementation. In my preamble, I did take time to discuss our analysis of the situation in terms of the challenges. I did mention the issue of, capacities resulting from years of negligence. We did not have engineers in the councils. We did not have quantity surveyors. We did not have, architects, which cadre we have now employed. I also talked about capacities at local contractors level in terms of having the requisite documentation, having the experience, the expertise, using the EGP, and so on and so forth. I also talked about the levels of community participation and demanding for accountability from their civic leaders and things like that. So those are some of the things. But coming back to what we are doing as a ministry, and I want to respond to this not only focusing on Mansa, but focusing on several others, is that we are working with the Local Government Sales Commission to ensure that we implement a carrot and stick approach, meaning that where we find that the lack of performance is as a result of incompetency, negligence, and just not inability to deliver caused by human resource challenges, then we are demoting, we are terminating contracts, we are changing staff. And just last year, I think about 7 or 8 of the principal officers, the council secretaries and town clerks, were handed that stick by the commission as a way of making sure that we get the results from the people that we deploy there. It will not just end at council secretaries, it will also be cascaded to directors, assistant directors, senior officers, and everyone in the value chain. The idea is that all of us should get productive and contribute positively to the value chain. So this is what we are doing as a ministry. Where the issues border on corruption, we are also reporting to the relevant agencies so that they can move in. Like the case was reported in Phiri, I think. We have reported that issue to the police and the agencies, the law enforcement agencies. Vance Meleki, who's talking about the suspected criminality in the yes, Evans, we have also received those reports. We also certain wards or political wards of not having received their allocation. And this is why I said when the cash for work comes to an end in June, we'll have a cool-off period in which we have to do a comprehensive evaluation of the project, see the strengths, see the weaknesses, the threats, and the opportunities, and then from there design something that will be different maybe from what we have now. So the cash for work, this is from William. William is saying the cash for work is a political tool, and that is meant to galvanize votes, and you are asking whether it is true or not. Well, political tool. Well, what I know for a fact is that UPND is a political party, and through its manifesto and policy presentation, which come from a political philosophy, they were elected into government. And if then we begin to isolate and brand programs as political, then the whole economic, socio-economic agenda that is implemented by government is going to be branded political. So the CDF will be political, the cash for work will be political, the social cash transfer will be political, the construction of schools will be political, everything else is political. But yes, it is political because it is coming from a political infrastructure that was voted into office on the political platform. So if I was the one to ask, I was going to ask that, is it helping the country and its citizens? And yes, it is helping. And I think I did speak to those economic benefits, social benefits. And if it is helping the country, even if it was a political program, I would say it's a good political program. I think that's what I would say about that. And then Mudenda is talking about Ben Bella Road. So it's I honestly hope and wish that I had a way of just tarring the whole Lusaka, because yes, Benbela Road is in a bad state. So are many other roads in the Lusaka, CBD. We are trying to push, about 40 kilometers of roads, I think, this year in Lusaka. And it's part of our decongestion program under township roads. And we can look at how we can address some of these critical roads. I know Benbela carries quite millions of people, connecting Kanyama, Mtandabantu, and others even going to Makeni. That's what we're talking about, right? Is that the road we're talking about?
That's the road that obviously Comesa actually COMESA, as in COMESA, the organization, going all the way into Chiboli.
That's a Benbera road.
That's right.
So yes, quite a long stretch.
So Kafue roundabout all the way out to
yes. So we would have to look at our annual work plan, and I'm sorry I don't have it top of my head.
Right.
I would have confirmed whether the Benbera is part of the 50 kilometers, but if it's not, please despair not. We will definitely prioritize it soon rather than later. But thank you very much for speaking on behalf of the people of Kanyama and the people using that road, the Benbera road. I think it's a very significant road that requires our attention. So I take note of that. Right.
So I've got a couple of messages on Facebook. Some basically are complaining the fact that, they've paid in cash for work and haven't been paid. Prince Mwanza in Kabanana says, I have worked for cash for work in February and I haven't been paid. Where do I go? Because I have tried to talk to people in charge, but they haven't helped me and the others. All right. And I've got Kamanza Banda. Kamanza Banda says, good morning, Zach and PSP. Speaking well, but Mr. Phiri, sometime on the same program, you promised to go to COMESA to check on the building or on the road reserve, but you didn't check. Does it mean the UPND sold the road reserve to a rich man and the poor shouldn't have a say?
That's whose name is that?
This is Kamwanza Banda.
Kamwanza Banda.
Yes. Let me give you two more calls as well on 0955221515. That's the number you're calling us on here on the Tuesday edition of the Burning Issue. And remember, we have the Permanent Secretary in charge of technical services at the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, Mr. Nicholas Phiri. You too can come through and have your say on that very number, 0955221515. Let's have this one. Good morning. Nakamusha Oswald Mwaka Branch.
Oswald.
Ati?
Nikamba kwa nini matumira mkipata
tupata over speed. Yes.
Mara pili ipo futa. Tupata hivyo hospital pili. Papa ina sija zona shwa no motor zona hapa kina kafanya smooth cost to 6 years. No motor.
Okay.
Hapo zake mtu akafa katika kliniki ile bwana. Tutaenda kuitie. Mara ba pili zamu ngabwa man. Wewe na watu upira ati transport man.
Chipata is in which constituency?
Mandevo constituency.
Mandevo constituency.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, so tapapa the please nanga ko ni mota tapapa the please ni mapi. Ziko
mara Oswald. On 0955221515 you can come through and have your say. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, please, you're through to the Burning Issue. Your name and where are you calling us from? Landani Batembo?
Yeah,
Collins Tembo from Garden. Pitirizani wa Collins.
Mwasenza bwanji wa Nicholas Phiri.
Batembo na senza bwino mwasenza bwanji?
We senza tape bwino. Yeah. Tulambire taposha bamdala wa president againde Jilema aba proud garden aba na Angela garden kubera ku topic ikunonga zikomo ba Nicholas Phiri ba NGPM musebenza na bamdala bamdala cash for work mwa tandi za tumuzi batandi sema tandi abantu makombo ni mweti kala yuwaona abantu basebenza bakora ndalama so mupitirize kusebenza kwe musebenza ba Nicholas Phiri koma chenga tempe ko che kuno ku garden kulikalo ketu zinya kwenda kumanda hiyo baiko ka bridge sana wanakafanya wanaka mapo pake nangu kwa kankata ni tari kezo tempa ko please mande ni apina ni wandale beti ngaoni wapangira wapige kaja ditike zamana su waenda pa not me so kuna wakati unapa ketika mapanga ikawela mvula kaenda kati mukwalisa mugagolo kitega maonako kalo tukogwera ku Monday ko kuteka mu garden ali komando otherwise Monday ni musebenza vote za kupasana na kuchanga kujerani mdala.
Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. I'll take that as our last caller for now, and let's respond to some of those that have come through. I know that it's a challenge for those that have worked and have not been paid in the Cash for Work program. It's unfortunate, but I sure hope that as you close this phase of Cash for Work, you will have no such complaints by June. We hope it will not be the case.
Yeah, thank you very much, Zach. So this non-of payment for Cash for Work is really a concerning matter. And sometimes we also want to understand why. And there are different reasons on a case-to-case basis. Some of them are the same things where your name appearing is different from what is registered and things like that. And because those ones, once they are left out, it takes time for the council to go back to the field and reconcile and things like that. But I would encourage those that have worked and have not been paid to see their area councillor. Let them speak to their area councillor, because your councillor sits in council. So they'll be able to follow the council, follow up with the council. And if it is something that the ministry needs to intervene, it will be brought to our attention. But please, your first point of contact is your councillor, and the councillor will liaise with the WDC to check if your name was correctly captured, and if not, how can it be ameliorated?
Right.
I want to provide sincere apologies to Kamoja Banda, that I did promise that I'll come through to commence, and I never came through. Please, I wish to tender my apologies. One of the things, Kamoja, and I'm not giving this as an excuse, but just for your information, so sometimes the moment I just say I'll come, then something else happens before I know something else, and then I forget that I was supposed to come and attend to you. I still have to come to COMESA. There are a lot of interesting things happening there. Some of them illegalities, and we have to address them head on. New minister to COMESA also to come and interact with the traders. So I still have a day with COMESA, but hopefully, Kamoja, if I could have your details through Zach here, I could then engage you bilaterally, and we can find a way of you pointing me to where that illegality is, and I can rest assure you it will be addressed. And then Chipata Level 1 Hospital, there's no mortuary. I want to encourage you, Oswald, to go and see your area member of parliament, because CDF has done a lot of mortuaries for a fact. In many areas. We have commissioned mortuaries done under the CDF, both the building and the fridges, and it's not costing much really to do that.
But maybe those are just in clinic. You feel that is equally under CDF?
Well, it's possible. It can be done. Because what matters is the scope of work. So, for example, now they have completely nothing. So, if you say that we'll do a scope of work for 12 bodies, for example, so 12 is still something that CDF can handle, and then you could be upscaling on an annual basis. You can be, expanding your capacity on an annual basis. But obviously, 12 processes there, the area member of parliament, the ward, and so on and so forth.
That's right.
So I will encourage you to take that route also. But if nothing is happening, then we could find a way of addressing that matter. But it would also be interesting to check with the Ministry of Health. Maybe there's already something that they're doing. So I can check. Maybe Zach, your media team, if they're listening, they can send in a press query to PS Trishimpi, a technical PS at the Ministry of Ministry of Health. I think they can.
Or the area member of parliament.
Or the area member of parliament.
Be aware if there is any.
Calling Stembo, the bridge in Garden. Again, this is something I'd be interested to see, and Maybe I can check my director. So Collins, drop your number with Zach. I will ask my engineers in the council and the ministry to come through to Garden and just check out this bridge. And they can give us the technical specs and the scope of work, and then we see how we could do that. Yes, bridges, ASCRO bridges, crossing points is a mandate of the ministry to address, and we could look at it and advise how we go through. So please drop your number with the Zach, and then I will ask my engineers to get in touch with you.
As we come to a close, I have one burning issue for you, PS, concerning the CDF ambulances. Where are we?
You want to ask when I'm resigning?
In fact, I forgot. Thanks for reminding me. When are you resigning?
So Zach, the CDF ambulances, I think as of last week, I had 30 at Dar es Salaam. 5 came through Mozambique, then 25 came through Dar es Salaam. We have been challenged a little bit with logistics in terms of the movements of the ambulances. We are getting these ambulances from outside the country, and so the movements have been the biggest constraint in terms of getting them on time as we had intended to deliver them. So as we are speaking now, with those 30 arriving, we would have a total of 79, maybe 80 thereabout in the country.
Right.
The idea really is now that we push to get the remaining again 70, if we can, at a go. So we are putting in place measures to ensure that we get the ambulances as soon as we can. But obviously, the spirit, Zach, is to say to the people that we are committed to delivering on what we commit to deliver. And like I said, when I was saying, look, by 30th of May, you are going to have your ambulances. I said, if we are not able to meet the deadline, we'll come back to you and say we are unable to meet because of 1, 2, 3 things. So as it is now, we may not deliver the 150 by 30th of May, which is maybe tomorrow or the other day.
Yeah.
Obviously, the biggest issue is the logistical challenge in terms of the movements of the ambulances. But we have all the sets, all the 150 sets are already manufactured, and they're waiting for us for collection. So
would you like to ask for an extension of your resignation date?
I will put it officially. I'll write officially to the people of Zambia.
P.S. Thank you very much for coming. I know yours is a busy schedule, but we are grateful that you spared your some time to be with us, and we really appreciate. We will definitely be catching up with you again very soon, just so that we can just be updated and update the nation on where we are with a lot of these programs that have local government and rural development.
Always a pleasure, Zach. In conclusion, we have 2 documents that we'd like to partner with you, partner with our listeners, and everybody else who has an interest. The first document is a communication strategy on CDF. We are beginning to roll it out. It was launched by the minister, and now we are implementing it. So you'll be receiving messages on your phones. You'll be seeing a lot of posts on Facebook, Instagram, and all these spaces. If you receive a message on your phone, please don't treat it as a hoax. It is a true message. It's going to focus on 2 things: awareness creation, but also speaking to the impact of the CDF. The other document, Zach, that I'd like to partner with you is the Keep Zambia Clean, Green, and Health communication strategy. We want to invest in communication as a way of promoting mindset change, so that we appreciate that garbage we see in Lusaka, Achunga, in the rivers, pollution is generated by you, Zach, and me. And if we control our actions and we take our attitudes, we can manage it. So I would like to invite the media to partner with us, give us, corporate social responsibility packages that we can be able to air some of these messages, and some of them you can take them up yourselves, so that we can reach as many people as possible with mindset change messages, so that we keep our country clean, green, and health. This is the invitation I'd like to leave with you, Zach, and through you, all the other media houses and the stakeholders that are interested in keeping our country clean, green, and health.
Thank you very much, PS. All the best.
Thank you.
Well, listeners, thank you very much for having been a part of this conversation today on the Tuesday edition of The Burning Issue. And I would like to sincerely thank our partner radio stations, Tuta FM in Mansa. Thank you very much. ZFM in Phiri, Platinum Radio in Ndola, and Spice FM in Kabwe for having carried this program live on your various respective platforms. Otherwise, this is where we come to the end of today's program. We will definitely be back, God willing, on Thursday with the Thursday edition of The Burning Issue. From all of us here is take care of yourselves and more so of